Hello and welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Mark Devenport, and if you thought student politics was something which happened back in the 1960s, then this week you were forced to think again. London saw a mass demonstration accompanied by violent clashes and the bizarre sight of the Prince and Princess of Wales being barracked by protesters shouting "off with their heads." Here, Belfast city centre was brought to a standstill not by Republicans or Loyalists, but by students angry about the proposed hike in university tuition fees. Whilst the students are up in arms, however, it's really school pupils hoping to go to university who face the worst situation, as they look set to be paying the higher fees should they choose to go to college in England. It's still unclear what will happen here. With that in mind, we're joined by a Campbell College sixth former, Alex Huston, and our regular commentator, Fionnoula O'Connor, who I'm guessing would remember the student radicalism of previous decades pretty well. Alex Huston, you're in an interesting position because you would describe yourself as a natural conservative, yet you find yourself on the other side of the argument over these tuition fees. Is that all about self-interest?
No, it's not about self-interest. I think it's completely wrong for any young person to go to university and have to pay £27,000 for 3 years of tuition. Like, I was in school the day after the vote on tuition fees, and all everyone was talking about was the fact that their parents had turned to them and said, "Right, son, you're not going to university anymore." It means that you're being prevented from going to university. OK, you get to pay the debt back over a long period of time, but starting life with £27,000 of debt before you've brought in food, drink or accommodation is abhorrent.
What about all these assurances that government ministers were given during the week that those poorer students will be looked after, they will be encouraged to go to university, there'd be all these extra schemes to help them in place?
Well, those ring very hollow with me. I think once the government ministers and every MP voted for it brings a cheque for £9,000 every year they spend for the next Parliament, then I think we can all take them seriously when they've paid back for their tuition. But at the moment, I think it's a very hollow promise.
Well, Alex, Fionnoula, more from both of you later. But of course, whatever the local executive decides to do about tuition fees will depend on resources and how or whether they sort out their current problems over the budget. In a moment, I shall be asking Fionnoula O'Connor and sixth former Alex Huston what they made of what he had to say. But Alex Huston, Stephen Walker was talking about the laughter in the chamber. There was precious little of it outside on the streets. You said at the beginning of the programme that you feel very strongly about the tuition fees. Would you yourself be tempted to go out and join some of these protests, demonstrate against them?
The issue with the protests in London and in Belfast this week, and all the protests that we had about tuition fees, is they're hijacked by left-wing groups. They're hijacked by the Socialist Workers' Party. They're all fight against university fees and all cuts. I'll go out there and I'll march against tuition fees. I'm not going to go out there and march against cuts.
Why not?
I support cuts. I think it's the way to get down the insane spending that the Labour Party did over 13 years. And frankly, it's a better way to get a smaller state.
So you'd be in favour of a cut in another area that would still give you the money to allow you to have the free university education previous generations had?
Yes, for example, the cuts in the EMA, I support them completely.
That's the educational maintenance allowance.
Yeah, the educational maintenance allowance. Friends of mine at my school get the educational maintenance allowance. I'm yet to find one who spends it on their education. They spend it on nice clothes, Subway, alcohol, McDonald's.
That's Campbell College.
And I'm just pointing out
that's not what people elsewhere need it for.
And other friends of mine at other schools I've yet to find money actually spend on their education. If I got 30 quid a week, I'd be spending it on nice clothes.
OK. And in terms of our local situation with the universities, we've yet to hear a revised report from Joanne Stewart, the Institute of Directors spokesperson who has been looking at all of this, Alex Huston. But it may well be that the other ministers won't feel that they have to give Danny Kennedy at Employment and Learning a lot of extra resources to sort out tuition fees, not least because his Ulster unionists are allied to the Conservatives. And they'll say, well, these are cuts coming from London. You're going to just have to put up with them.
Well, I think if the other political parties choose to do that, they can join the Lib Dem ministers and all ministers in paying back their own tuition. Many of our ministers have degrees that the taxpayer paid for, and if they're going to make us pay for our own degrees, then they can jolly well pay for theirs. The issue of Northern Ireland, I think it's not fair that students in Scotland get free tuition, students in Wales get subsidised tuition, students in England have to pay the full whack. That's not fair. It has to be completely the same system across all the UK, or none of it.
Just shifting focus slightly, obviously this week, I was putting it to Devenport, the Ulster unions did a deal whereby they will stand in the Assembly elections. The Northern Ireland Tories won't be standing there. What do you make of that as somebody who's naturally a Conservative?
One simple word for that: betrayal. The Conservative Party have sold us down the water here. We've been left with a party that a veteran Conservative councillor Ulster Unionist councillor described as a total shambles. The Unionist Party has become a club of old men in orange halls in Fermanagh, and frankly, as a Conservative and someone who's not sectarian, I don't see how I can explain to my Catholic friends how I am allied to a group like this.
You're now accusing your own party or your own natural party of betrayal. Does that mean that you have to take yourself off elsewhere, either to Alliance or somewhere else? Well,
I won't be going near the Alliance Party, but the only party that we have now for people who are conservatively minded and actually want to vote for a national party is UKIP. UKIP are standing in the Northern Ireland elections. They've already been in contact with me. I'm probably not going to join, but I'm willing to support them, and I think anyone else who's conservative minded or a disillusioned unionist should too.
Okie doke. On that note, Alex
scary.
Huston, I found the only UKIP student in Northern Ireland, possibly. Alex Huston, Fionnoula O'Connor, thanks very much for joining us on Inside Politics. The programme was presented by me, Mark Devenport, and produced by Robin Sheeran. If you missed the Politics show, there's another chance to catch it on BBC One tonight at 10:30. And do feel free to click on my blog, The Devenport Diaries, that's on the BBC News website, at any time.